What camera kit do you need if you're starting out as a photographer? Now, I've already answered this in the comments, but I thought it was such a good question I wanted to make a video about it. So the truth is, it doesn't matter. Like, genuinely, it really doesn't matter. As long as the camera has a manual mode, so you can change the shutter speed, the aperture, and the ISO, that's all that matters. Other than that, fill your boots. What does matter though, is the lens you use. So my top tip for new photographers would be to trash that kit lens and go for a 50mm lens. There's a reason it's called a nifty 50, and that is because it's fantastic all-rounder and it's pretty inexpensive as well. It's brilliant for portraits and it's just a perfect lens to start with. You can get an f1.8 for under £200, or you can go for an f1.4. It will have better bokeh on there, which basically means blurred background, but it is a little bit more expensive, so I'll probably recommend the 1.8 to start with. Now, when it comes to your camera, here's something you should do first. Before you start practicing with the manual settings, honestly, just put your camera into auto mode. Stay with me. The most important part of the photograph, in my opinion, is the composition. Your camera can do a lot of things for you, but one thing it can't do is creativity. Practice your composition, practice your poses, your angles, everything. Nail it. Get really, really good at composition. Then once you're confident, then you can start practicing with the manual modes. Practice with aperture first, shutter speed, ISO, learn your exposure triangle, and then eventually you can upgrade your camera and your lenses depending on what kind of photography you want to be doing. The only thing I will say to bear in mind when you are buying your camera is to do your research. And that is because different brands have different colour profiles. So if you like that kind of warm and moody look, I would probably recommend Canon or Sony. But if you're after more vivid, true to life colour, then I'd probably recommend maybe a Nikon or a Fuji. The reason I say to research this now before you buy your first camera is because generally speaking, once you've got your camera, you kind of want to stick with that brand. Because if you switch your brand, you're going to have to replace all of those lenses, and that is an expensive mistake. But yes, as a beginner, you can't go wrong with any camera really. Always remember, it is you that takes the photo, not the camera.